Hi everyone, it's Denise from Dobby Books, and today I'm going to show you what I'm reading. Since it's Jane Austen July, then that's what I'm going to focus on. The book that I chose for Jane Austen July is Sense and Sensibility. I think I've read all the Jane Austen books except for one. I know Penguin has it. It's the earlier writings, and I think it also has Sanditon in it. I've read Sanditon because it was an unfinished story, so it was a very quick read. But included in that same volume were the earlier stories, and I could have sworn I had that copy, and I can't find it. So that's the only collection that I need to read. I believe Sense and Sensibility was the final one that I had to read other than that, and it's been wonderful so far. So the basic setting is that there are three sisters. There's Eleanor, Marianne, and Margaret. But in the story, you're mostly interacting with Eleanor and Marianne, and they are opposites in their temperament. Marianne is very demonstrative. She has no problems displaying her emotions or speaking her mind, but she is kind. Uh, she is she is refined. She is educated. Um, she just tends to be more emotional, more demonstrative with her emotions and her thoughts, whereas um, Eleanor is the opposite. And she's the older sister, and of course, she's the one that is trying to rein Marianne in whenever necessary, or she feels like because Marianne had said something that she thought was a little impertinent, she feels she has to sort of make the other person feel better. So she is working very hard to make amends to that person to try to soften the situation. And there's also other characters, Mr. Willoughby and Edgar. Those are the four main characters, I'd say, because when with Jane Austen, there's always some sort of romance and mystery going on. So that romance and mystery is involving Edgar, Mr. Willoughby, Marianne, and Eleanor. And I'm not going to give any spoilers here. And I'm at a point in the book, I'm right here. This is how much I have to go. I'm at a point in the book where we discover one admirer, another character, Colonel Brandon, very much the gentleman, that Marianne just completely ignores because he stares at her. Ah, the nerve. But we're finding out now, at this point in the story, what it is with Mr. Brandon concerning Marianne, what it is about what's going on with Mr. Willoughby, what's going on. Well, we don't yet know what's going on with Edgar. He's still a bit of a mystery. Eleanor is still trying to figure that out. But it's very interesting that it's entitled Sense and Sensibility because you have um, the two sisters, and one is very, sensible. That's Eleanor, and the other one is less restrained. So we're seeing that contrast throughout the story and what the outcomes are. And even though both sisters experience similar situations, you see how each one's temperament responds and reacts to those bumps in the road that happen. And if you're familiar with the Jane Austen stories, you know that it has that everything seems to be fine, and then some mysterious things seem to happen. So now we've got to find out the what behind those mysteries, right? So this is what we're at this point. We're going to find out what's going on with Edgar. Mr. Willoughby, we have already found out, and Mr. Brandon, I keep wanting to call him Mr. Colonel Brandon. We have now found out what's going on with him. And that's all I'm going to tell you at this point. This has been a very good read for me. I had gotten up this morning too early and just grabbed a coffee, came here into the library and read in the early hours of the morning up until well into daylight. And I got pretty far into the book. I should be finishing, I would say, within the next 2 days, being the slow reader that I am. A couple more days and I will finish this book. And before I go on, I want to share with you that originally I was reading it in this book, Sense and Sensibility. This is the annotated series. So every single story, if you look, the story is on this side, The annotations are on this side, and it also includes illustrations as well. But the struggle with this, and I got nearly halfway through, is that when you're reading, only the left side has the story. And of course, I'm reading, I get to the bottom, and I just habitually, just out of habit, I'm starting on the right side. And over time, I was getting used to this, but I got to the point where I thought, wow, I really wish I had my regular book to read this, because somehow I felt like I'd move faster. It just was a different kind of pace for me with this format. And even though I'll keep this because it's filled with all kinds of illustrations and explanations, because, vocabulary, for instance, same word was used differently back then. And also there were some new words that we have no idea what they are. Some people don't know what a shay is, for example, and this explains it for you. So this is a useful book, but reading it for me was not very practical. So that's why I went out and I purchased Sense and Sensibility of the Penguin Classics edition. I also have 3 copies of the other Jane Austen titles in the Oxford World Classics format, and this is what I had used during my semester at school. And I've got my tabs in here, but I only ever marked it in pencil if I had a remark. I don't think I highlighted anything. So if I decide that I want to get rid of these, donate them to the bookseller over at my library, it'll be easy enough to just remove the tabs, erase the notes, or transfer them to my Penguin Classics edition. But I have this copy as well. And you ask, do I have any other copies of Jane Austen's novels? Yes, I do. Of course, you know me, finding formats for young readers of classics. And this is the one that I have for Sense and Sensibility, a series published by, I'm not going to be able to read it from the spine, published by Hodder, Hodder, Hodder Children's Books, an imprint of Hachette Children's Group. And this one was published in 2022. And it gives a little information about when it was first published and what the historical setting was at the time. And it's just wonderfully and simply illustrated as you go through. I have not read this yet because I have the whole series, the Jane Austen series, but what I had decided to do was I was going to read these individually as I was reading the original versions for myself. So I will be reading this one. And believe it or not, I have not Sense and Sensibility, but I have Persuasion in Spanish. Isn't that pretty? A beautiful dress. Very nice. But if I can find De Bolsillo is the publisher of this particular series. I'm going to see if I can find Sense and Sensibility by the same publisher. I'm very curious to see what that cover is going to look like. I believe my mother read this one. And last but not least, I also happen to have a Folio Society edition, not the current one, but the one that was printed in 2003, I believe this was printed in. I believe this particular edition was published in 2003. I have the whole set, all in its nice slipcase. It's a lovely cover. Very pretty colors. And let's see what the end papers look like. Very plain. But the book itself, it's well done. I mean, there's nothing fancy schmancy on the inside. I like this edition. It was one of the first Folio Society publications that I started purchasing. They have the newer one. I haven't looked at it yet. I don't know if I want to replace it or whatever, but it's a nice set to have. So there you go. I have the Folio Society edition of Sense and Sensibility. I have Persuasion in Spanish. I have Sense and Sensibility for young readers by the Awesomely Austen series. I have the Oxford World Classics edition. This one happens to be Emma. I also have the annotated Sense and Sensibility. This is published by Anchor Books. And finally, the old reliable Penguin Classics edition of Sense and Sensibility. It's a great story, everyone, if you're thinking of reading it. It's very good. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.